Thank you all for joining our Thank you all for joining our monthly Unnathi Disability Support Group meeting. It's wonderful to see you all here today. Today we have a special session focused on a crucial topic, mental health care for the differently abled and caretakers. I'm delighted to introduce our esteemed speaker of today, Ms. Cauviya Madhiyazhagan. Ms. Madhiyazhagan is an IFS Informed Trauma therapist with over 5 years of experience in the field. Her impressive educational background includes a Master's of Science in HRD Psychology, Diplomas in Counseling and Psychotherapy, and Art Therapy. She also holds several certifications in mindfulness, suicide prevention, and immersion course in the internal family system. Currently, she is pursuing further specialization in animal-assisted therapy. Ms. Madhiyazhagan is the founder of Kensho Project, a mental health service that offers psychotherapy and various other services. Additionally, she founded the Yenthizhai Community, a peer support group for women who have experienced all forms of abuse. On a lighter note, here's a fun fact about Ms. Madhiyazhagan. She would rather be surrounded by animals than by humans. We're incredibly fortunate to have her share her insights and expertise with us today. Please join me in giving a warm welcome to Ms. Cauviya Madhiyazhagan. We'll also have a Q&A session after the presentation where you can ask your questions. Let's now give our full attention to Ms. Madhiyazhagan as she takes the floor. Thank you. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your kind words. And I think this is a very diverse group. Like it looks amazing to be a part of it. So it will be good if you all could interact with each other. I don't want to feel like I'm talking to myself. Is it possible for everybody to turn on your camera? It's okay if you can't. That's completely understandable. So today I am here to talk about mental health and its importance. So even if you can't turn on your camera, it will be good if you could type it in the chat box that whatever you want to say. So what do you think mental health is? Can anybody tell me? Anybody can tell me. What is the mental health and what is the difference between mental health and mental illness? You can type in the chat box if that's all right. Okay. So I'll tell you by myself. So does anybody do not know Tamil? Everybody is Tamil here. Okay.
I
So
can't
yeah.
understand them. I mean,
Okay. Yeah. This is going to be bilingual only. So yeah. Yeah. Okay. So can you tell me what is mental health? Like, what is your understanding about mental health?
mm,
Okay.
I think the emotional wellness or like, yeah, taking care of your emotions, something like that.
Yeah, it is. So when Sandeep wanted to say something.
Yeah, and you're not able to think clearly or act like how you want to. Could be any reason like stress or something.
Okay, yeah. Well-being of the mind, attention to psychological aspect of mind. Yes, all of those things are right. So when we talk about mental health, it's about your cognitive abilities, right? Cognitive abilities as in it is your ability to think, pay attention to certain things, concentrate, and memory. All of those things come under your mental health. In general, we can classify health into 4 categories: physical health, mental health, emotional health, and spiritual health. So here people can be atheist people also, but not necessarily spirituality means it is religion. Spirituality means the ability to connect with yourself. The self we have, right? Like the self, anything to do with yourself, self-awareness, self-esteem, self-worth, everything. If you wherever you go to a spiritual center or wherever, what they talk about how your mind wanders away, how you can control your anger, you can meditate and control all of those things, right? So this is about self. how the self is going to impact on other people's well-being. So that particular habit of yours, your ability to reflect on your own behavior and everything, that is what we call as spiritual health. Here, mental health and emotional health, that is what I'm going to talk about primarily today. The emotional health is, as Shweta said, like, this is not just about emotions. It is primarily everything. How many of you can say, I don't have mind? If you have mind, you have mental health. That's all. So everybody has mind, right? So which means everybody has mental health. At the same time, not everybody has mental illness. Like, just because I have mind doesn't mean but I am, anybody can become mental ill. I have the potential to become mentally ill. When will I become mentally ill? When I am not regulating my emotions regularly. How do we regulate the emotions? That's what I'm going to talk about today, especially when it comes to disability. Like, we might have certain privileges, certain things we could talk about, right? So first of all, how many of you, I just quickly want all of you to put it in the chat box, like, what do you do when you feel low, when you feel you're going through something, like somebody has told you something and you're just feeling really low, sad, you want to cry. In that stage, what do you do? How do you cope with it? You can just simply tell, pray about it, yes, okay, cry, talk to a friend, yes. Anybody else? Distract myself with Netflix, yes, absolutely, yeah. Talk to someone, I pen them down to reflect later, yes. Anybody else? Okay, so these are the general things we do, right? What do is we try to distract ourselves. How do we distract is by watching something or eating something or going out with friends. They try to cheer us up, all of those things. So they try to distract us. Next one, what we do majorly is sleeping. How many of you sleep to cope? Nobody? Yeah. No. Okay, that's surprising. Usually people's go-to mechanism would be sleep. Like, whenever something happens, they just sleep themselves out. Okay. So yeah, talking to somebody is very good. Usually I'm going to talk about catharsis here. Catharsis as in your ability to channel your emotions into a particular activity. That is called catharsis. So if you're doing any form of cathartic activities, you will be emotionally regulated, and that will not be followed up to the next stage. So anything, when does a mental health problem becomes a mental illnesses? When your symptoms or when your behavior is starting to affect other people around you. Okay, so that's when it becomes mental illness. Like, for example, how many of you felt like you're depressed or you're anxious? How many of you can relate to the term? Like, you're a nervous person, you feel low in confidence and things like that. Even I do. I feel very low when I need to sometimes. Yes. Yeah. So depression is, we generally think depression as sadness, right? Everybody gets sad at some point in their life, but that doesn't mean we are all depressed. When does a depression when does a sadness or any incident, very tragic incident or any something life altering incident, that becomes a depression is when you feel completely exhausted. It has to do with your mental energy levels. How many of you feel like, we all do this, right? Like, you kind of post your stories, you kind of post your statuses, but you don't check your messages. How many of you have piled up messages? Like, we all have piled up messages because we don't have the mental energy to go through that and read and reply to that, right? So many piled up mails, so many piled up DMs, you just don't act on it. And then how many of you procrastinate? Procrastination is avoiding the particular task. I'll do it. I'll do it tomorrow. Yes. Yes, we all do that. It just means we are all humans. And all of these things are happening purely because of the lack of emotional regulation. So, how do we regulate our emotions? So, how many of you have been tagged or labeled as sensitive? Or you know somebody who did that? They call people sensitive, or I'm overthinking. How many of you tell yourself that you're overthinking? So we all do that. So that doesn't mean we are overthinking, or so somewhere something is going on. And sometimes we don't even have a supportive parents or supportive social circle, anything of that sort. That's when we come to the other people, other means to feel supported, right? So I would really like if you could turn on the camera, all of you. So yeah, only a few set of people is being interactive. Yeah. So emotional health is when it comes to when you're so we call this happy hormones and things like that, right? Serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin, all of those things. So serotonin, I'm going to talk about serotonin today because serotonin is something which is helping you in regulating your mood. So, for example, like let's take that somebody is yelling at me, somebody is scolding me for some reason, and I'm not at fault really, but I'm getting yelled at here. So, how would I feel at that moment?
Angry.
Angry?
You're so mad about it.
Yeah, I'm mad about it. Yes. So, I'm mad about it. And then what will happen?
You might lash out at them.
I might lash out at them, but I can't because he's my boss.
I'll just keep it inside. Just maybe like, yeah.
Okay. So things like this happens to us on daily basis, right? We all must have experienced some kind of like that's not fair kind of a feeling we must have. I didn't do anything. Why are you yelling at me? That kind of feeling. But you will not be in the position to do anything about it. You're kind of stuck in the situation. So when at that moment what happens is you have pent up anger, pent up fear, all of those things are there. You don't know. Like, oh, at a point you even think, "Oral nana tappu pannidanu," things like that. Probably you're not wrong, but you start self-doubting yourself, you start questioning your ability. All of those things are it's like a domino effect. You push one thing and everything is falling off. Something like that. So now, like let's say that in when I am doing fifth standard and my maths teacher is yelling at me, so I'm feeling this exact frustration and anger towards him. Now I am in my career, in doing well in my career and all of those things. But do you think that anger must have vanished over the period, like it got evaporated? What did I do to that anger? So it still stays inside me, right? These are called pent up emotions. So these pent up emotions are going to resurface into your life like 10 years, 15 years later as anxiety, depression, whatever you call it. You can name it. So it is going to come out. So you need to practice a very healthy form of coping mechanism. For some of us, it is writing it down, talking to a friend, and that's completely okay. That is also cathartic. But most of the times, let's say that I really badly want to talk to a friend, but my friend is not available. Probably they are engaged in some other work. What do I do now? So I can write it down, I can paint, I can draw something about it, or I can do some kind of creative activities. How many of you are creative people here? Not necessarily creative, but you like to create. Like it could be art, it could be cooking, baking, anything, gardening. Okay, only two people. I guess everybody could be sketching, painting. Yes, yes, yes. So all of you, we all can be taking the support from the art probably. Like art is something which is very, it helps you fix your inner child. That's what we can call it. So It can be any form of art, not necessarily sketching, painting, writing, creative writing, like or baking, cooking. It can be like you play with your clay, play with your whatever colors you have, photography, movies. You create a movie, you play a keyboard or whatever musical instruments you like. All of those things are going to regulate your emotions. So why I am particularly talking about emotional regulation is, it is very important for us that we keep ourselves regulated. Otherwise we are going to lash out on other people. Your damage is going to spill on other people. And also we basically have three main needs. Okay, how many of you know here Maslow's hierarchy of needs? You all must have studied, right? Yeah. So in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we have spoken about all of the things, right? Like it is starting from your first one is your how many of you don't know what is Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
I don't know.
Sorry?
I don't know.
You don't know. Okay. You all don't know. Okay. So what that is, as a human being, we all have basic needs. So that need has hierarchy, and we are going to talk about it. So first one is physical need. So physical need is something that is it could be every people, like every socio-economic status, like people who are poor to people who are multimillionaire, billionaire, everybody needs that. So what is that? Like first is physical need, which is your food, air, water, shelter. I mean, shelter is the next one. Food, air, water, and sex. That is the primary need. So sex is a primary need. That is something which is stigmatized here in our society. But why am I specifically talking about is, you can see a homeless person, but still they would carry a baby in their hand, right? Because that is a primary need. Just like how you get hungry and you eat a food, you need that. Because these are biological needs which you cannot deny. We need that. Okay, that is the first need. Second one is security, safety and security needs. So how do we feel secure? We feel secured in different aspects of life. One is your job security, financial security, and then you have a house, you have a place to live where nobody will attack you, where you feel safe within a community. So that is safety and security. And it includes different aspects also, like emotional aspects to it, like it could be like caste discrimination, LGBTQ community, people from LGBTQ community, so they don't feel safe within their own family. And the second basic need itself is not met, so how well could their mental health be? So it is starting to affect from that point itself. And third one is love and care. Love and care can be, you can get love and care from your partner, from your parents, from your friends, anybody. Like they show you the support you need, they give you the support you need and the care you want, right? So when that those things are met, next one is your self-esteem need. Self-esteem need is where I want to become the CEO of the company. Like you don't stop with the I'm earning today, I'm earning 25,000 per month. You don't stop there, right? You want to go to the next level. You want to get promoted. You want to become CEO of the company. You want to start your own thing. All of those things. We all have dreams. So that particular need is being met. You have gone to that level. That is your self-esteem needs. And last one is self-actualization need. Self-actualization is where you come to a realization that no matter what, you are worthy as a person. So you are worthy as a person, even if you are not a CEO of the company, even if you don't have partner, even if you don't have a house, even if you don't belong to a community of people. Whatever, like any basic needs can be rejected, but you still understand that you still are a worthy person. So we all tend to place our worth on the different things, right? How many of you read like you we seek academic validation, right? Academic validation as in you want to be the topper, you want to achieve certain things, you want to do all of those things, or you want to be a perfectionist, you want to achieve in sports. Somewhere you keep your validation there. So when you feel good, like when you achieve that, you feel good. So that is called pseudo-esteem. Pseudo-esteem is, if I am a topper, if I'm getting into that college, if I'm getting into that, if I'm clearing that exam, I'm a capable person. No, even if you're not clearing it, you're still a capable person. That realization is good self-esteem. But if you're going to, some people just, they are so obsessed with the work, they are workaholic, they're constantly learning. Some people cope by learning, like they just continuously learn something. They are always engaged in some course, they are with some books, they keep learning so that they feel like they are a worthy person. Even if they don't learn, they are still a worthy person. That kind of understanding and realization they get is self-actualization. So, I mean, self-actualization is like mukti, like you are mukti adanjittinga, kind of a point that you come to that stage. So, of this, so we all can, so Abraham Maslow has told this as an hierarchy. You go from one to other, but you can be a CEO of the company and still not feel safe and secure. You can still not feel loved and supported. So somewhere we just relapse also. So those things also happen. So for us, you need to understand why we live. So many of us have the existential crisis kind of a feeling, right? Like, why am I living? Why am I doing this? What's the point? How many of you have felt like that? So when we feel like what is the point, which means it is not about your purpose, it is not about your capacity, it's not about uh, depression. Generally, existential crisis is equated with depression, but no, it is just an indication that you are not in a supportive environment. So what you guys doing? You are offering a peer support group for various aspects, right? So that, I think that's a primary emotional need for us to have a very good mental health. So the support you are creating, like the community you are providing for people, that is very important aspect for a mental for a people to have a good mental health. In the support group, how many of us feel like we are not alone? Like we feel that, okay, அட்லீஸ்ட் நான் வந்து நான் மட்டும்தான் நினைச்சேன், இவங்களுக்கும் அப்படிதான் இருக்கு. So we have the sense of uh, belongingness in the, so the sense of belongingness is very important for us to feel good. And one more thing, for a person with a disability and people who are taking care of them, burnout can be a serious problem. So we all need self time, me time, right? The time which we spend with ourselves. Even if you are an extrovert, even if you are a people person and you want to be around people, still you need some time to wind down and recharge with yourself. So that time, me time, is not there for most of the caregivers. So how many of you are caregivers here? Okay. Yeah, so I don't know. I think I am going to assume nobody. So caregivers are somebody who is constantly uh, doing things for the other person, and that leads to mental burnout, mental fatigue. They just come. They need time to recharge. They need time to recover from the burnout and everything. So when the offering you are giving becomes burnout is when you feel it's one-sided. You keep giving, and you don't receive anything from the other end. You feel like you're getting drained. How many of you have felt like that? You feel drained, not necessarily in the peer support group, but yeah. So, but also in the it could be in your workplace, it could be in your relationship, it could be anywhere with your children, with your parents, with your siblings, anywhere, like where you keep giving and you don't get anything in reciprocation. So that is when it starts becoming to burnout. Okay. So these are the major problems we face, and also self-esteem. Self-esteem is a major problem here in the. So self-esteem. Okay. So I'll give you an example. Like when there is a child, like let's take fourth standard, fifth standard grade. And you keep saying, like, you could have done it in a better way, you could have made it in this method. It's not wrong, but you could have done it like this. So you keep improvising their work, and suddenly they are going to feel like they are not doing enough. You tell them 3 times 4 times they are not doing this. They could do this in this way, they could do this in the other way, they could tweak in this in this area and all of those things, and suddenly they are going to feel, fifth time you don't have to tell them, they're going to tell it to themselves. They feel like what they're doing is not enough. So first, so in the social media and everywhere we see that you don't have to seek validation from other people, you need to give validation to yourself, right? Like self validation. But where does the self, we can't give self validation if people around you are going to constantly criticize you and make you feel like you're not doing enough. So at that point you need to surround yourself with people who understands you, people who supports you, who roots for you. And it can be in any aspect of your life. So actually I am assuming the problem and I am talking. If you all could give me some kind of interaction or some kind of problem you are facing at the moment, I'd be able to help. Hmm. I think does anybody have any questions? I am assuming that I am talking from the place of self-esteem and burnout. So is there any other problems that is there for you all? And uh, anybody can tell me, Kitna, Shweta, Pooja, you can also tell me like which they must have already shared with you. You can tell me. What are their struggles? Not necessarily mental or emotional. It can be general life struggles. What are they facing?
I think one other aspect could be understanding. I mean, if, for example, if there's a caregiver, understanding the person who we are giving care to, like who we are caring for.
Okay.
It may not be the same, they may not be going through the same struggles we are going through as caregivers. So, how do you sort of understand that better to help them out, even without causing yourself to burn out? Or I know that can be burnouts that can happen, but how do you understand that their struggles are different than ours, so we need to tend to it accordingly?
Okay. You mean you're caring for a person, and
Yeah.
that person is going through something, and you are going through something, but still you want to tend to that person.
No, in general, how do I understand? Like, for example, my mom has partly lost her vision due to glaucoma. So the kind of struggles that she is going through is very different. But because at this age, she cannot do certain things. Like she cannot cook often, so she has to accommodate her tastes to what the other people, what anyone else can cook and give her. So in that case, like I know my struggles will be different than hers, but how do I balance that out and give her the care that she still needs? Like what sort of approach should I have mentally, or am I allowed to have my own time and things like that, or should I constantly be tending to another person?
That's the thing. You can't physically do that. You can't, it is not humanly possible for you to constantly tend to her, because you're going to get burnt out, right? Like, because you're burning yourself out, because all of those things you are providing is for her, not for yourself. And if she is going to reciprocate certain things for you, you will feel better. And those things happen only in a relationship, like in a romantic relationship or in a friendship where you offer. But for a person who's suffering and you need to offer them some kind of support, you can do that for a very for a period of time, but you cannot constantly do that. Like, probably you could seek someone else's help where they would provide the same amount of care like you do, like with your siblings or somebody like that. You could take turns and provide that care for her, but you cannot entirely give that for her. I mean, that's not humanly possible.
Thank you.
Yeah. Is there anybody else, like the questions you are facing mentally or emotionally, like generally in general, does this group contain only the caregivers or people with differently abled people also? Anybody can answer me.
We have both, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
So you were telling about caregiving, right? So I was in a position where I was a caregiver a few years ago. Like I was taking care of my grandfather, my mom's father, with my mother. And I was, in a span of few months, I was also taking care of my father's father. So when, like in both the cases, there was a time when, especially like in the first case with my mother's father, both my mom and I felt that, what we were doing for him, he would really get angry at times. I mean, he would bring up things from the past where we were not even at fault, and he would not see that we are taking care of him. So at times he would feel very undervalued, like not even the basic okay, gratitude. Yeah.
Exactly.
And even in my father's case, my grandmother, no, like I mean, my grandfather's wife, she would really, even she would not show that gratitude, like the basic gratitude, that I'm like, I had to take a break because of that from my career. And like, I felt that I didn't even have the basic respect at that time, and it was quite tough. But it was a situation where I could not pull myself out. I had to be there because they are my grandparents. So how do you, like, what would you say for such people? I believe there would be people in such positions, in such part,
What were they suffering from?
So my grandfather, my mom's father had a fall, so he was bedridden, and my dad's father, he was a sugar patient, so he had memory issues and old age issues.
Okay. Does he have any diagnosis, or it's just in general he's not feeling good kind of a thing?
So diagnosis, like, yeah, mom's father.
I
he
mean,
could not
I'm asking, like, does he have dementia or Alzheimer's kind of a thing, or it's just generally he's like that because of the diabetes and stuff?
Yeah, because of diabetes, my dad's father had memory issues. He did not really remember a lot of things. He was like a child at that point in his behavior and everything.
Okay. So he was like a child, but he was still being very rude to you.
That was my mom's father.
Okay.
My dad's
He was,
father was not rude or anything, but my dad's mother, she was also taking care with me. For
okay, okay.
But she was the one who was pretty rude in his case.
Actually, I don't know if this is relatable to your situation, but I'll just generally explain you how emotionally abusive people work. There are people who are emotionally abusive. So we generally talk about physical abuse, sexual abuse, domestic violence, all kinds of traumatic events, but we just leave out the emotional abuse part. Emotional abuse is way too common, and it happens in every single family, and it equally impacts you, just like a person who is going through the emotional sexual abuse or some other form of traumatic event, and they go through some after effects. The same thing you will go through even in emotional abuse. So this emotional abuse part is being overlooked by everybody. So let's take, I'm going to take Carolyn as an example here. So let's say that Carolyn and I are friends for a very long time. Like, we both know each other for a very long time, and we work together, and we are close friends. So one day she's telling me that what you did is wrong, Kavya. I don't like it. How can you hurt me like that? At that point, how do you think I can react to that statement?
Some people will become defensive, like if they're in your position.
Yes. So here I'm the one who's at fault, and you are pointing it out that you are hurt because of me. So what I can do is, there is two scenario here. One, I can acknowledge it. I can acknowledge that, yes, what I did is wrong. I will not repeat it. I'm sorry. Second one is becoming defensive. Yeah, that's what I would do. If you want, you can be with me, or you can just leave me, or whatever. Like, they can just become very defensive. Or both of these responses are completely okay, because as human beings, you are allowed to become defensive. We don't have to always take the high road, right? Like, we can become petty at times, so that's okay. But there is this third response that is completely not okay. That is, why are you taking it so seriously? It's just a joke. You can't even take a joke. Why do you why do you have to take everything in this way? You don't be overreactive, things like that. What I'm doing here is I'm saying how you are reacting or how you are hurt is not okay. Instead of talking about me. In first two scenarios, I'm talking about myself, where I'm saying, I'm sorry, I'll not do it, or I will behave like this only, you can leave. Both of those things are completely okay. But in the third option, what I'm saying is, you bringing that problem is the wrong thing here. So that is not completely okay. But on daily basis, we face this everywhere, right? Yeah, exactly. Minimizing the person's emotional absolutely right word. So that is emotional abuse. So this thing, what I'm doing is trivializing your problem and making it sound like you are the one who's overreacting or being sensitive. All of those things are called gaslighting. You must have all heard of the term gaslighting. So, gaslighting is one of the forms of emotional abuse. There are other things like guilt tripping, stonewalling, like that. So many are there in emotional abuse. So, why I am particularly talking about emotional abuse here is, when it comes to other forms of abuse, right? Like physical abuse or sexual abuse or whatever other things are there, like financial abuse, institutional abuse, so many things are there. When those things are happening, you know this is happening. If somebody is going to harm me, if somebody is going to attack me, I would know they are going to attack me. And I will try to run away, or I'll try to defend myself. I'll try to do something about it. But in emotional abuse alone, I will not know I am being abused. So only when I know there is a problem, I'll try to solve it or defend it. When I don't even realize there is a problem going on here, I will continue to stay in the situation and the problem becomes bigger and bigger. So in emotional abuse, we don't realize that this is a problem and we try to protect ourselves. No, we just think that they are lashing out because they are in a bad mood or they are already going through so many things. That's why they are talking like this. So you just give the benefit, you keep giving the benefit of doubt to the people and you continue to stay in the position. But you are the one who's ending up getting hurt. Okay, so unfortunately, there are so many people like this who are emotionally abusive. Emotional abuse becomes a defense mechanism for most people. So this is one of the thing, and one more problem. See, என்னை யாரோ அபியூஸ் பண்றாங்க emotionally அப்படின்னா எனக்கும் தெரியாது I'm being abused. அவங்களுக்கும் தெரியாது அவங்க என்ன abuse பண்றாங்க. So it happens. So when both the party doesn't know they are being emotionally abusive, there is no solution. Usually, parents are emotionally abusive to their own children. And they try to guilt trip, they try to manipulate in certain way. And their love becomes very conditional. So all of those things you need to understand that you are not the problem. They are reacting in a certain way. So in this situation where your grandfather and what if I know and what I'm supposed to do? What if you know as in, like you know that they are being emotionally abusive and what you are asking what you should do after that? See, you should stop sharing a bond with them, emotional bond, because only when they have an access to you emotionally, they will be able to hurt you. Otherwise, they'll not be able to hurt you. So when you look at them as your mom or sister or friend or partner, like you value, you share a bond with them, right? You become very like whatever they see, only when you value a person as a person, you can get hurt. Otherwise, you are not going to get hurt. Unfortunately, you have to break the bond with them, not necessarily cut ties with them and move away. No, just break the bond you have. Like whenever you like can you anybody give me an example, like what are you going through, or like for example in her case, like let's say that her grandfather is being emotionally abusive. She should stop valuing him as a grandfather and start seeing him as a human being. He is just another human being who is using her for certain needs, and she's being exploited there. That's all. So that's how you can see it, instead of seeing as a grandfather. When you see it from the lens of grandfather, you are going to become emotional, you are going to get attached, and you will not be able to let it go. Let it go as in it is going to hurt you even more than you think. But when you see a third person who's doing that, you're not going to get affected. So first thing you can do is break the bond you have with them, and you can just talk to them like a just another human being. That's all you can do. And it's not easy. I said it very easily. Usually, with the emotionally abusive person, we share a trauma bond. That bond is called trauma bond. Why is every time you fight with them, every time you have an argument with them, every time you have a disagreement, you get very agitated, irritated, you start crying, you start screaming at them, the bond becomes stronger. The trauma bond becomes very, very stronger, and it's very difficult for you to break it. And you can't live without them, and they can't live without you. So that kind of goes in that toxic cycle. Yeah. So this is emotional abuse, and emotional abuse is way too common than we think. Not just it's not like something in the movies and in the things we see, but it is there in every single family. Like you will have in a department of, if you are in a college and you have a department and you have multiple professors there, one of them would be something like that, one of them would be emotionally abusive, one of them. So wherever you go, you can see this kind of a person. So you, and these people are, when you hang out with these people, they bring out the worst side of you, and you kind of start to think that you are a bad person, things like that. And also they bring down your self-esteem very they suck out everything from you, like your self-esteem goes down. So that is an indication you are around you're around an emotionally abusive person. Yeah.
Is it possible if we confront them that their behavior could change?
We can only find break the bond and stay away from them. That's all you can do. So if you're going to confront them, they are going to become, they're not going to agree to that. They are only going to point out like you only did it, or you are the reason why I behaved like that, things like that. They're going to shift the blame on you. It's better that we don't confront them.
I agree with that, because when I confronted my grandmother, she put the blame on me.
Yeah.
And I
They
had a
don't
very
take
hard time
accountability.
dealing.
Yeah.
They won't admit.
Yeah. So we can only avoid them. Like if they are just another human being, and you just stay away from them, that's all. Anything else like that? So usually this happens to most of the caregivers. The person you are taking care of can be like this, and I'm not saying all. Sometimes vice versa also. The caregivers can be like that. So it's very important for you to identify who is being emotionally abusive and who is not. And for you to take care of your mental health and recharge yourself from time to time, get in touch with your inner child. Inner child as in, so we all use this word triggers, right? Like something triggers you. So the term trigger means something that invokes a very deep feeling or very deep things inside you. Like it can be fear, it can be anger, it can be shame, guilt, it can be sadness, anything. So trigger can mean any emotion, any feeling, not necessarily anger. So trigger pannada means you just become very emotional. That's what trigger means. So these are the triggers, whereas there is an opposite for this term, which is glimmer. Glimmer is something which invokes peace, calm, and you feel safe. You feel very happy around that. So that is glimmer. So I would suggest you, for you to recharge yourself, for you to recover from anything, I would suggest you to start spending time with your glimmers. So the glimmers can be anything. It can be like a smell of a coffee, sunset, sunrise, rain, anything which you see. It's not hobby. It's not something you do. It's something you come across. It is something to do with your senses. Something you see, something you hear, something you smell, something you touch, things like that, to do with your sense organs. So, hobbies and glimmers can help you recover from anything. So some of the hobbies are two kinds: consumption and creation. Creation is what is going to help you. Consumption is reading, watching something, learning something, all of those. Even now I am talking to you and you are listening, all of those things are consumption. So the input is keep on going inside your head, and where is the outlet? Right, we keep dumping things inside our head, and there is no outlet. So start practicing cathartic activities. You don't have to actually sit and make art, because whenever we think about, we want to paint or sketch, or you want to engage in some kind of art activities, you start procrastinating. I'll do it later. I'll do it when I'm free. I will do it tomorrow, because tomorrow I'll be in a better mood. Tomorrow, if I do it tomorrow, the output will be better. Something like that. You find a way to procrastinate and not do it. So, when do we procrastinate is when that particular task involves multiple cognitive steps. So, if I have to make a painting, what are the things I should do? I should find a notebook. I should find my papers or whatever it is. I should find a paint. I should find pencil. I should find a reference picture. I should have water. I should have a cloth. All of those things too. So this involves multiple steps, and to even think about it, I find it very exhausting. So I'm not going to do it. But if I'm asking you to take a paper and scribble, you will be able to do it. So do you all have paper and pen with you? No? Okay, it's all right. So I would suggest you to set a timer in your phone and start scribbling. Start scribbling and make art out of it. So that could be a really, really cathartic effect for you. So there are days where you start scribbling and you tear 2-3 pages because so you're frustrated so much and paper starts tearing, things like that. Those are very good cathartic way of expressing your anger. So yeah, so this is something I wanted to talk about today. And is there anything else you guys have questions or anything? Like, I thought it was going to be an interactive session so that I can answer the questions. Anybody has any questions, you can also type it in.
Yeah, I'll ask a question.
Yeah.
I don't know if you covered this already, so I apologize if you have. So I know we've been talking a little bit from problems that caregivers face, but as somebody who needs the caregiving, especially if it's someone who is fairly independent and is finding it hard to accept that care, then what do you suggest that how do they come to terms with the fact that they need to be under someone's care for a while at least, sort of be dependent on someone?
Okay, so your question is when a person is very independent throughout their life and suddenly they are dependent on a person for a care, how do they come in terms with that, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's either that, or if they're under the care of somebody they don't want to be under the care of.
Okay.
How do they?
Oh, that's a red flag. Okay.
Yeah, how do they come to terms? How do they reconcile?
Okay. It particularly it depends on what kind of problems they are creating. I mean, the caregiver, what kind of are they, if they are not giving you a safe space as
Oh,
in,
no, sorry, I don't mean it in that context. Like, for example, my dad, a few years ago, he collapsed, and he's obviously, as the man, the head of the house, he sort of is the one who takes care of everybody else, right? So I'm sure he didn't really enjoy being taken care of by people that he generally takes care of. So there's no question of an unsafe environment or a problem with the caregiver itself. It's just, I think, the person's ability to accept help.
Actually, it has something to do with their belief system, like what they believe in life. Like probably his entire life he has become, he has been independent and he feels proud to be independent. Probably it gives him some kind of self-esteem boost or something. If he's going to look at being dependent on a person as a I mean, if it's going to make him feel like he is less, I think he needs to work on his belief system. I think it's good to take help, right? Um, Asking for help is a skill actually. So not everybody is capable of it, and some people are extremely hyper independent. Hyper independence is not a healthy thing. It sounds good, but it's not a healthy thing. It's a trauma response. So probably he needs to understand, or he needs to think about where this belief system is coming from, that he can take therapy or like things like that to reevaluate his belief systems and core beliefs. I don't know if I answered your question.
Yeah, a little bit. Thank you.
Okay. Actually, independent is okay. Hyper independent is not okay. Hyper independence is a trauma response, and people tend to become very, very, I don't know, they become very damaged when they can't be hyper independent because they cannot accommodate to that shift in life. Anything else? Okay.
I guess that's a wrap. As we come to the end of our meeting, I would like to take a moment to thank each and every one of you for your active participation and contributions. We would like to involve you in monthly meetings. Please feel free to share feedback about today's session. And if you would like us to cover any particular issue or topics in the future meeting, you can also volunteer as a moderator. We'll also keep you informed about upcoming programs. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook for all the updates. See you soon. Have a pleasant weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.